In accordance with the Salon Freedom of Nonsense Act, the following commentary has been declassified by Starfleet Command in the spirit of shenanigans. Ahoy, hoy, friends, and welcome to a close-up Salon. Choices were made in this documentary, and choices are being made now. But good God, no, we gotta just back that up. Hello, everybody. We are talking about the 7th episode of the 3rd season of the Star Trek Strange New Worlds series that came out today. Get excited. In order to do that, we need our crew. We'll beam them in momentarily. But before I do, of course, all of the podcasty things, as you can tell if you're with us right now, we are live 6:30 p.m.-ish Pacific on YouTube Thursdays and live on podcast platforms the next day. So wherever you get your nonsense, our nonsense is there for you. We hope you do enjoy. Like, subscribe, comment, share with friends, have all of the fun time. And that stuff out of the way, I want to beam in our crew. I'm going to start with my newest neighbor here in Los Angeles. Let's bring in Matt. Matt, how are you?
I'm the reason they put a seatbelt on the captain's chair after Nemesis. Matt.
Indeed. Let's take it to the north with Benji. Benji, how are you?
I am well, thank you.
Excellent. Bringing it back south, let's go to Joanne. How you do, darling?
Howdy, howdy. I am well.
Keeping it southern. It's Krista.
I do well.
Excellent. And DC's technically south-ish, adjacent. We'll take it. I don't know. That's not for me to say. I'm not southern. Will, how are you?
I'm fine. Maybe southern adjacent. I'm in Virginia, so technically that's the south.
Yes, indeed.
Northern Virginia.
Also, just so folks are aware, unfortunately, Trevor will not be joining us tonight. Our co-host and his husband sadly had to say goodbye to their beautiful, lovely dog, Rigel, a few nights ago. So they are taking some time to get out of town and start the grieving process. Beautiful boy. I got to dog sit for him once. He's a lovely, lovely creature. And so we bid him bon voyage on his next adventure. And tonight, instead of an intention, we are going to light a candle for Rigel to help light his way on that next adventure. Bon voyage, sweet boy. Rigel, you were lovely. I know your dads loved you and you loved them. So for Rigel. All right. Before we get into the episode today, we did also want to talk about a little bit of Star Trek news. There's a new sugar daddy in town. Paramount is now officially under ownership and control of Skydance. Paramount, a Skydance corporation. Get excited. They have said that they want to take a holistic approach to Star Trek, return it to the big screen, and the people be coming out of the woodwork with their pitches. Aaron Waltke, who I sure hope gets whatever he's cooking up going, has an idea. We know that Michael Sussman, who is a writer on Enterprise, is working on a pitch and already has Scott Bakula jazzed to return as President Archer in what they're currently titling Star Trek United as a pitch that would land on some of the political stuff within the Federation. It's an interesting time for the franchise. We've got the rest of Strange New Worlds coming to a conclusion at season 5. We're still in 3. So we've got through 2027 with Strange New Worlds, and we've got 2 seasons of Starfleet Academy coming up. I know we're all really excited about it. But new pitches and new development projects, got to get them working in so that we can have them ready for 2027, 2028, etc. The new era is beginning. Anybody have thoughts on this? Any excitement? Any trepidation? Thoughts, concerns, needs, emotion from the crew? Will?
Yeah, I think this is the best case scenario for the franchise because Bad Robot's done Skydance has done partnership with Bad Robots to do the reboot film, so at least there's they were talking about it. I think some of the stuff that they talked about with Star Trek, again, I just don't think works because they're trying to get an IP that's like Marvel or something or like Star Wars, which I just don't think Star Trek works like that. But there has been interesting people. There has been talk. I think there was Ben Stiller was asked on a red carpet whether he would do Star Trek, and he immediately jumped at it. And people were surprised. And I'm like, he's been on like 3 Star Trek podcasts to talk about it. Yeah. So I'm like, I was not surprised. I'm surprised they haven't reached out to him sooner.
Yeah, the director of Severance, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Get him in.
Yeah, wild. And like, I just hope that they kind of go back and it would be nice to see it on the big screen again. I think Star Trek does work best as a series of shows. It's kind of weird that we're talking about the next evolution of the franchise when like I kind of like where we're at right now. If we're going to talk about this episode, like, yeah, I think Strange New Worlds is hitting out of the park, and I'm like, what? If they ain't broke, don't fix it. So maybe we need to think about. I don't know. It's all up in the air. I think we're in a good place, but I think we're gonna get a little bit of a break, and then we'll get some stuff.
Anybody else before we move on to the next bit of Star Trek news we got this week? All right, the sky's the limit. I'm pretty jazzed because we got news about not 1 but 2 Star Trek games that are in development. My only note is we have Star Trek Day, we have First Contact Day. Like the PR around Trek is something I also hope Skydance gets around, because Star Trek Infection, which is a VR game that takes place on a new ship with a new crew, tackling, you guessed it, an infection, is slated to come out this year. So it's been in development for a while, and I feel like they could have drummed up a lot of excitement around it, but still jazzed. And I know Matt's excited. I'm also excited. Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown. You get to second guess Admiral Janeway's decisions after the fact and change the course of Voyager's history. A story-based game also coming out. This one, they have not given a date. Thoughts on these games? Matt, I know you have some.
It helps if I unmute. The first one, VR games, it's always a hit or miss, mostly miss. That's a fantastic title for it. The Voyager one I'm really excited about because I originally thought that it was going to be like Star Trek Resurgence, where it was just like choose your own adventure kind of. But it does seem like there's going to be more interactive, like map moving and like resource management, and it showed cutaways and stuff like that. So like, I'm more excited. I'm always a ship person. So give me something that I don't even have to be like what is it called? First person view. Like I'll just control the ship and do resource management and tell the ship what to do and stuff like that. So I'm excited.
Hello from the chat, Trevor. Always lovely to see you.
Love you, Trevor.
Anybody else have thoughts on these games?
Well, I'm excited that I get to finally use my VR headset for something other than porn, so that's exciting.
Oh, learned something about Benji today, our own documentary.
I was literally just thinking like a week or so ago that it would be like really nice to have Trek games that weren't like all the recent Trek games, and by recent I mean from the last like 15 years, have been like really, really broad. It's been like a broad thing about like the entire, like a strategy game about the entire Star Trek universe, or it's like Star Trek Online, or it's an FPS about the entire Star Trek universe. I really like that we're getting something that's like really specific, which is like sort of like a horror zombie pandemic game about with a Vulcan first, a main character. That's super cool. And then the Voyager thing being maybe like a little Fallout sheltery. So I'm glad we're like finally getting something like a little more niche than what we usually get. So that might actually get me to pick up a video game finally.
Krista, I'm sure you have thoughts on this. I know you're an avid gamer.
Yeah, no, don't care. Don't care. I'm from the Atari generation. I'm from the boop, boop, boop. It's very anticlimactic. I couldn't even figure out Dungeons and Dragons. I never understood it. I couldn't figure it out. So yeah, no, I'm not a big game. I can't even get my fucking laptop to load StreamYard, for fuck's sake. So I don't know what to do with a joystick. I'm here all week.
Excellent segue. We love that. Let's talk about this week's episode. What is Starfleet? I will kick off the top thoughts section of the evening as per usual. I really loved this episode in a Star Trek episode framework. I thought it was a really cool format that Trek is ripe for. You know, I've always felt like logs are sort of like of a documentary. That said, this was a bad documentary, and I have a lot of feedback for Beto. I see his vision. He has a lot of promise, but his narration was stilted and bland. He went in with an agenda that's blatantly obvious. He has bias that he should have acknowledged. But the story he ended up telling, I thought, was lovely. In that, especially, we got not only stunning visuals, always with the space butterfly, incredible, but we also got really lovely character moments with nearly everybody, and it was a good Trek story. Like I have, like, there was a moral quandary with this mission and the Admiralty, and honoring this creature's final wish. I thought was very lovely, and the way that it ended up going about again was visually stunning. So I have some nitpicks as always because I'm a bitch, but I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I would not mind them using the documentary format again, especially since he has a lot of footage we know that he did not use in this documentary. So those are my top thoughts. Joanne, I'll kick it to you, and we'll just go through the crew as usual.
I enjoyed this episode too. When I started watching it, I was very uncomfortable, and I realized that was probably the point, to be a little uncomfortable. So then I zeroed in on my feelings and why it was making me uncomfortable, and what questions was it asking, and that really kind of just pulled me into what was going on. I do maintain my theory I posited last week that this is yet another installment of Perspective Matters. It couldn't be any clearer, right, than in the documentary. As Beto's perspective changed, as our perspective of Beto changed, who was telling the story, where we were in the ship, it's all about, right? Perspective, and who's the monster, who's the enemy, and what guides us in these situations. It's our values. So I thought, they're doing good at working the theme. And, you know, uh, overall, I thought it was fairly effective. Some parts were better than others, but overall, I thought it was an admirable attempt. Benji.
Admirable, yeah. So I've been like doing a lot of temple rubbing over this episode today because I really don't know what to think, which is probably good. That's probably like Star Trek should probably do that. My feeling, like I ended up watching it sort of watched it like 2.5 times, and like one of the times was sort of half watching it. I think what I'm gleaning is that I think that the writers really wanted to go, I don't know how you go like hard on ambiguity, but they really wanted to like both sides us really hard and make it really ambiguous, because that's what Star Trek is supposed to be. And you know, all of the Trek bros for the last several years have been saying like, you know, Star Trek is supposed to let you decide, and it's not. They're not supposed to tell you what to think about a thing. So I think that they were going very, very hard in this episode in trying to achieve that. So they would like do one thing, like say that the, what did they call, the Lutani were, so they were like a Federation enemy, like they, what did they say, like they supplied the Klingons during the war or something like that. But now they're showing us that they're the victims because they had like mass casualties in this conflict. And then it's like, why is, you know, on the one hand, Starfleet is, you know, delivering a weapon of war to their enemies, which they shouldn't be doing. And then by the end of the episode, Starfleet is protecting them. And then they're portraying Beto as being like this, like progressive anti-colonial person who is right about everything that he says about, you know, Starfleet, you know, shouldn't be bringing a weapon of war to another planet. Starfleet, you know, shouldn't be acting like a colonizer. They, you know, took over a Lucari moon at the end of the episode. But again, ambiguous. It's to protect the Jakaru. And then like Uhura was pointing out that he was, you know, angry and went there with something to prove, which is really like tropey for like a young progressive guy. So they're like, they keep like both siding us and both siding us and both siding us, so that it has to be ambiguous and it has to make us think. It absolutely did. I just find myself really stressed out. So somebody else go. Krista.
I loved this episode, and I thought it was a really well presented examination of confirmation bias in all its forms. I think that it was thinly veiled as a bit of a commentary on the fandom in general, and that those who dislike new Trek come with the confirmation bias to it already. And so their perceptions, as Joanne mentioned, are formed based on an echo chamber that reverberates back how they feel. They filter out the things that don't agree with them. I think it was very timely. I sort of understood immediately that this was going to be a series of gotchas, where documentaries now seem to be so much gotcha material, catching people off guard, catching people with their pants down. You know, it's again, it confirms a bias that's already there. And I think, again, it is another episode that really is firing on all the consistently same kind of criticisms that are coming out of the fandom and that are coming out of the podcasts and all the talking heads. This isn't this isn't that, the well, actually. And it's, you know, I like that it's not cowering, it's doubling down and kind of saying, come for me. Let's, you want to play, let's play. And I kind of like that spirit. I like that moxie of it. But I love the episode. My only thing that I did not like is that to me, it seems very obvious that M'Benga is on his way out. And we know he does eventually get replaced, but I think it's, to see him leave is sad for me as a character, because he is my favorite on the show. And I think he really encapsulates a person in conflict with themselves and in conflict with who they were, who they are, who they want to be, and whose innate nature and instinct is to heal, and kind of the inability within this environment to be able to heal in the way he wants to heal people in conflict, and allowing himself the freedom to heal. And I think it was the most poignant part of the interviews that all of his stuff was redacted, because if you look at something like that, you see it as, well, that can't be good, and you don't really have the full measure of the man. And I thought that was kind of a stark representation. I also like that La'an says, basically describes moral ambiguity as the top character trait you need to be in her position, and a tendency to isolate off of people, and then to end the episode with her not isolated at all, but actually doing kind of a nice mind meld communion thing with Spock was kind of nice, even though I don't want to go into the love stories. But they're firing on all cylinders, and I like what they're saying, and I like that they're forcing people to come out of the shadows and state a preference, and not it's like compelling enough at this point that people are coming out and stating an opinion. And I think the overwhelming opinion is, yes, we'd like more of this kind. Thank you. So I liked it. Crash test dummy.
Only for the Enterprise E. I don't know how many people have really watched The West Wing. I know a lot of people have, and it's a very big Venn diagram of people that watch The West Wing. There's an episode they do called Access, and it's when the real world news follows CJ Craig around for an entire episode, and the whole thing is basically shot as following her around as though it's a real, documentary, literally, like that. And I really wanted this to be more like that. Like this still felt very, I don't want to say cinematic, but very scripted, they didn't capture the essence of we're just watching these people work. They did at times with certain angles and certain things, but it would have been nice if the whole consistent episode was like that. And yeah, I had a problem with Beto not saying oh yeah, by the way, my sister lost her hand and I'm also doing this documentary. That's why I'm following her around. It included all this footage of her saying, don't use this footage in this documentary, which I'm sure she could have gone back and said, go ahead. But it all it was almost there for me, because I love it when Star Trek does a new format, a new something or other. There's been Voyager did the Holo Imager episodes a couple times where the Doctor would follow people around. So I don't know. I wanted to like it. I did like it. I could have liked it more. Yeah.
My turn. Yeah, I overall I thought this was a strong episode. I think the backdrop story, the with the weapon and the what is it called? The whatever it is. I want to say Pikachu, but it's not what it is. Because it looked like
butterfly.
Yeah, the butterfly thing. It looked like Pikachu on this. I thought it said Pikachu because I had the subtitles like Pikachu.
The Stellaris monster.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting plot for just an episode in itself. I had issue with the way the documentary was being staged, because with Beto just being a documentary filmmaker, I don't think there's enough conflict with what he's doing. So my thought was if he was a paparazzi, he worked for Page Six or some shit, he didn't work for it was maybe a little more ruthless, which just doesn't feel very Star Trek, whatever. But he should have been with a news agency that maybe wasn't as a favorable to Starfleet and their ongoing matters. He could be some like they could have had him be like a Hassan like person where he's like this person who does these video, like there could have been a lot more parallel to it, I think, with Beto's character, and it would have maybe created more conflict with Ortega. So it's like there needed to be a little more he fit in too nicely. I think for him to be a good documentary filmmaker, he was way too nice to people, and his documentary also fucking sucked. So it was like, it wasn't interesting. Like he wasn't getting people in like a real state. It all felt very staged, like Matt said. And I think there is something really cool there, because it made me think of like when Babylon 5 has done like episodes where they have like reporters on there. I think Battlestar Galactica did it one time to a really interesting effect. That's the thing with this one. I wanted to go further. I wanted them to really push the idea of why he's there on this ship filming, what he's doing, and he's getting in people's way. He's, he's sneaking around. Like there should have been more of this, but he's like this cute guy that's there, and he has this little affair with Uhura, which doesn't have any stakes either, because he's cute, she's gorgeous. They're like, ooh, kissy kissy, and she's like helps him realize why he's doing this. But there wasn't enough conflict. There wasn't enough stakes. Like I needed there to be more attention with him being on the ship and maybe why he's there. Like if he's reporting something, like maybe some shit. I don't know. Like I felt like him being there was too easy. His documentary was a little soft, and there should have been more conflict with him getting involved in stuff. I did really like the overall story about the Lucari and all the stuff that was going on with them. Thought that was really great. But I just needed his presence to be more disruptive. It felt a little like I'm just filming it for fun, and it's like he's a documentary filmmaker. Like he needs to be up in people's shit. It was just. That being said, I did actually really enjoy the episode. That was my only nitpick, is that the documentary end of this just was a little toothless.
I agree. And now that we've wrapped up our top thoughts, that's a great transition into talking about the first bit that I wanted to deep dive, is just the documentary format for Trek, but also just this documentary. I thought it was really interesting that they did this. I loved the visual cues, most of them. I think a few things were interesting, right? We get a little bit about the ship, like, oh, this is really cool, interesting backstory or information for the audience. The way this is being shown is sort of telling a story, like he has an agenda. This one got me a little bit. I don't love numbers that end in 0. They look fake to me. Because Matt and I talked about this when we watched it the second time today. My perspective was that we were watching a documentary after the fact, and obviously after the fact of that mission, but after the war. So to me, I was wondering like, oh, are these like final tallies, and they just didn't write over 9 million, over 119,000 where they could have, rather than get specific. And Matt, I don't know if your perspective has changed, but you were saying, nah, it's probably ongoing, right?
Well, what I was saying was like the way I read this, and the more I go back and reread it, the more I'm like, is that really what it was? So I'm not saying that this is what, but originally how I read that was he is saying at this point in the war that we see this happening, there is about 19 million Lutani or 9 million Lutani casualties and 119,000 Kelpian or whatever they were. Kasari. Kasar, yeah. So 9 million and 100. I think so. To me, it was like at this point, this is where we're seeing it, this slice, not what happens at the end of the war.
Gotcha. Yeah, that could be. We also got only for Mbanga, which I thought was interesting and pointed, his war record or part of it. We didn't get this for anybody else, but we did get some other interesting visuals. There are cameras everywhere on this ship. Did y'all know that? Because don't fart, don't pick your nose. Don't adjust yourself because your console has a camera in it. The corridors have cameras in it, which sure, whatever. Every corner there is a camera getting these glamour shots of Una always, but who else is getting those glamour shots? Also, the screen in the ready room has, like, if you're just trying to read your mission report, camera. I thought the visuals and the visual choices of Beto as a documentarian were interesting. What were y'all's thoughts about the documentary format and this documentary in particular? Benji, you came off mute. And then Krista, I saw your hand earlier. I didn't want to forget that. Sorry.
I was just gonna say about like the cameras in like every friggin' console. And there's like one moment where it captures Uhura kind of like sniffling and catching herself, and I thought that was kind of weird and interlopey. They did say somewhere early on that like all these cameras go on during a red alert situation, so it's not like all the time. So at least like, you know, if they're just having a chill day on the bridge, they don't have to worry about it. So I guess that's good. But it is kind of weird. I was kind of hoping that at some point, or that this would be the concept that people had discussed, where they would maybe do like an office mockumentary style thing. I think I would have preferred that much for this episode, but this is what we got instead, which is fine. I am kind of wondering about Beto's style about like sticking his drone in people's, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what everybody's talking about online today, is like, what is up with these camera angles? I guess either it's the style of the time, or he's a crappy documentarian, and also looks like he downloaded his title sequence from Adobe stock. That's all.
Well, as to the cameras being in there, the little floaty thing being in the faces all the time, I think it's a nice it's nice symbolism for him really wanting very much to be in everyone's face with his own righteousness. So and making it unavoidable for them to answer the questions that he feels entitled and demands an answer to. As far as the documentary goes, I suppose the format sort of facilitated. It was good because it facilitated this sort of confirmation bias. Let's re-examine, let's look at perspectives and all of that. But quite honestly, the second thing that I really did not like about this episode was that if you, I feel, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this. I feel like they introduced the brother to facilitate Ortega's internal struggle and her internal issues. And I would rather you have just written the fucking words for her as a character instead of introducing, and this is my own confirmation bias, introducing a male character to facilitate a female's issue, whatever that issue is. I don't know why they could not have done the same thematic story using her. I don't understand why that couldn't have occurred. She still could have been in conflict in the same way that that her brother was in conflict. And you know, and again, that's my own perspective, and it's illustrated of the point of this episode is to get those things, identify those things and go, okay, what is the thing that really makes you uncomfortable? And as Joanne said earlier, she had a conversation with her feelings, and my feelings said, I'm irritated with the female plot line facilitated through a male character, and then to double down and expect me to care in the end where he's, near tears. Bitch, please. Mm-hmm. I don't.
Yeah, I found it frustrating that we got more character development for him in this episode than for Erica in most of the entire series.
Yep.
Because there's an interesting opportunity here. Also, again, with the bad documentary, like there was no disclaimer at the beginning. This is my sister's ship, and I thought like that could have been an interesting aspect of like I came to this ship, and full disclosure, my sister is assigned here. I did not think that even that would be enough. Despite that, I did not feel I would become part of the story as I have. And then it ties into the scene at the end with Uhura and dealing with his frustration with his sister and them coming together over the loss of their mother and her experience that he's frustrated about because he's worried about losing it. Like it didn't tie in as well as I think they tried to force it at the end. And I agree, it's using
Spock got to tell his story.
Yeah.
Everybody got to tell their story. Somebody killed a bison. I mean, everybody got to tell their story, right? Ortega didn't get to tell her story until the very, very end. And then it was sort of, it just came across as trite and forced to me. And the spotlight was more on, the education of one's brother rather than an objective, this is why I am the way I am, in the way that was generously offered everybody else. I think Una also didn't get to, but we had a whole episode in the first season dedicated to why Una, is Una and why, she does the things she does and the things that she's, decisions she's made and all of that. It's just something that I notice and I don't like it.
Can I just add to, like, just because I was going to save this for later, but like the dialogue that they're giving Melissa Navia makes her seem so simple and like so fucking dumb. Like they're just giving her dialogue that is written really dumb. Like, I fly the ship, and like, her saying like it's stupid to go out into space without weapons, but she said it even stupider than that. They're making her sound really fucking dumb. I wonder if maybe they were going for like something that made her sound like sort of like maybe more like aggressive bro-y pilot, but they are just making her sound so fucking dumb, and they're not doing anything with her. And I'm at the point where I'm like really like disenfranchised with this character because of the writing they're giving her. It's really unfair, and they're making her look like really stupid, and like Melissa Navia deserves better than that in her role. We ain't getting it.
I agree. I mean, she was always pretty quippy, but this episode was particularly annoying. I also like getting back to Beto. That documentary sucked. Like, he's not good at what he's doing. Like, his interview style is bad. The way they frame the way he's talking to people is bad. Like, he's not. There's no point of view. Like, they make this thing about he has an agenda. Like, oh, he came on the ship with an agenda and angry, which is not true. He did not come on that ship like that at all. And he was there and immediately started flirting with Uhura. Like, he did not go on that ship like any way other than flirty, cute little man. Like, there's no way he came on there. And the way that documentary is like objectively like journalistically is compromised, because he should not be making a documentary about his sister's ship when he has a personal agenda. Like, he lacks integrity there, but they don't mention any of it. And he's just kind of this, why are we getting her brother is a way for her to deal with her own issues? Like, we learn all this stuff about her, but not in a way that's interesting, where it's like, oh, Ortega doesn't talk about this, but her brother is kind of divulging her information, like in some way. Like, there's no conflict between him and the crew. Like, if someone came to my work and was monitoring me all day because they had issues with how we were running shit, I would be fucking irritated. The only person who actually acted irritated was Pike. He was just like, get that out of my face. Everyone else was like, what do you want to know? And everyone was just too easy to give up shit. Like, they're on a classified mission that they're basically committing a war crime. And he's there just like, he's floating around with fucking drones, filming people scratching their dicks at their consoles, and everyone's just like cool with it. I'm like, get this guy at the fucking ship. I would have put him in an airlock. Like, get this guy the fuck out of here. Like, he just annoyed me throughout this episode. I think I will drag her. He's very cute, but that character sucks. And what they took from Ortegas is really unfair because we never got enough of her to begin with. And like now that we get like something that's mildly interesting, even though it was played out 2 seasons ago with another character, they just kind of like let it all go with him having a moment with Uhura. Where it shouldn't have been Uhura. It should have been those two should have talked. They should have been talking. Ortega should have beat the shit out of him. And they should have had a conversation after that. Like, it shouldn't have been Uhura to sit there and get him to confess that why he's doing this is because he's mad about what's going on with his sister. Like,
yeah, and
they took her story twofold. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Yeah.
And his frustration with Starfleet, like, came out of nowhere in this episode. Like, he's been in two other episodes.
This is his third.
Lens of Time and Wedding Bell Blues. And, like, his frustration with Starfleet hasn't been hinted at all. So like, and whatever, like it could have been, it could have not been. We got a little bit about the technology he uses through the Lens of Time, and that sort of explains why they're so close, because the algorithm thinks it's a good idea to be here when somebody's angry, which is a good commentary on always having real camera people. But yeah, his arc sort of came out of nowhere, took away from her, had an opportunity to be helpful with telling her story, and then just using her on top of, like, we haven't gotten to this yet, but the way he was with Uhura in this episode, like he had her dead roommate in his back pocket and pulled it out of nowhere.
Shitty.
And was secretly filming them.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. This has been declassified. Fine, it's in the future, whatever. Where does this fall within their actions? Like, for all we know, this is a jump ahead, and we're looking back in the 25th century on, like, a recording. Like, we don't know, like, when this was released in universe. So my question is, this documentary, this incident, did it come before or after Through the Lens of Time? Because if it came after Through the Lens of Time, which is kind of assumed because clearly he and Uhura already have kind of a fling thing there. There's a fire there that she gets mad about. He should already fucking know what Starfleet goes through. He watched someone be killed.
Yeah.
Like, what? And I wonder, like, that's one of my problems with this episode is that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in what it's trying to do. And it also doesn't make sense in the timeline in which we're seeing it. Like, what is Beto? Like, to Will's point, yeah, he could have been a, what's that? What's the writer in Harry Potter? The one. I read it like 10 years ago.
Rita Skeeter.
Rita Skeeter, yes, that one. I hate to use Harry Potter. She's a transphobe fucker. But, I mean, it's a good, like, something like that could have been more interesting is, like, you have that TMZ, that, like, Federation's bad because we want to be popular and, like, everybody knows that colonizing's bad. Like, lean into it. But, like, we saw him getting along with everybody else. And we saw him on an away mission where he acted like he was part of Starfleet. Like,
he's been recording for 2 other missions that we did not see today. That I kind of went like this is part 3 in a 6-part documentary series from Beto Ortegas. You know,
like that would have been interesting. Yeah, like
where is that footage? Like, if this came, this is a really interesting point, Matt, because if this mission we just haven't seen yet, but actually happened before the Lens of Time, it could explain, like, oh, he has a bias that he's working through, and then he goes through the Lens of Time and, like, doesn't have that issue anymore because he went to that jail. Yeah, like his own experience is basically missing from this episode.
I thought he was there because it was 100 years old or whatever, right? Or did I make that up?
Yeah.
It
was the centennial
documentary when he was first introduced.
He was there for the centennial, and then he was there for the mission of the Lens of Time.
So I thought, I don't know, and this might just be my own kind of like, I was like, oh, he was there to cover the centennial. And I just took this is my own interpretive leap, that this was kind of his, his side project, his personal kind of like, here's what here's really what I want to do, my art piece kind of thing. Which is why it was, you know, so shitty. And why I think because he wouldn't have had to make, I don't think, all these disclaimers if he was there covering the fucking wedding cake centennial.
Mm.
He was already there kind of on Starfleet thing. So I was like, oh, he got permission to get all this because this was probably not an authorized project. Like I said, that was just my own kind of interpretive leap because it was so all over the place and so kind of not good journalism by any era. I don't care. Um, you know what I mean? Like, but you definitely could see, I won't call any names, but oh my God, I want to be petty and do it. But, we've seen some folks with their terrible ass, you know, student pieces posted on YouTube. So I figured it was one of those just kind of, bad. I want to be artistic and tortured. Kinds of situations on there. But I wanted to talk about Mbenga. Well, and two things. Kind of when they introduced that opening slide, I've never heard. Um, Speaking of Babylon 5, I've never heard heavy cruiser language used in the Trek universe, and so them describing the ship, the Enterprise, as a Constitution class heavy cruiser, I thought was really interesting because again, for me, because I'm watching Babylon 5, I was like, oh, so it is a battleship, but it also,
See,
has other functions or whatever.
as a ship person, this actually, I'm glad you brought that up. This is the first time we've seen it in Star Trek because it was never supposed to be like that in Star Trek. And we have all of these outside video games, and like they had to lump ships into different classes in video games because you have a frigate, you have a corvette, you have all these, like, in video game mechanics, you need them to be weighted and to be able to play it. So it came up as heavy cruiser, and it was like there was that bullshit TOS, like, oh, this is the dreadnought that has a third nacelle on the top of it. Oh, here's the one that has the long cylindrical
Beta
rod.
Cannon really pisses Matt off. Don't even get him started.
Beta Cannon sometimes is just stupid as shit. It's just like, we have always heard an exploration cruiser or a long range cruiser. Like heavy cruiser, I don't know. It's TOS. I do not know TOS that well. Ken is not
She
here.
is
I'm not
heavy.
here.
We
It's
saw her.
like,
She
I
is
just didn't
heavy.
like that they gave her the
190,000 metric tons. She is a heavy cruiser.
Well, on the plaque, it just said like Starship class, which is basically
Yeah.
Starship.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Love
But-
to Gene Roddenberry, but he was not the best at world building.
But I also thought, well, kind of continuing my point, I also thought it was
Sorry,
interesting that Stan, I think you're right to call out that why they posted Mbenga's kind of war record and everything's redacted, and why they were so interested in Benga. And on some level, I don't know that this was I think in universe they were trying to kind of lay the groundwork that this is a ship of war and this is a ship of death and destruction, or whatever, or at least conflict and fighting and killing. It was a killing machine. But I think larger in terms of like the episode, I do think you're right, Krista. I think they're setting up the stepping stones for Mbenga to not be CMO. But I also think they're trying to kind of frame, Mbenga kind of as a sort of representative of this larger kind of question, like what is Starfleet? Are we military? Are we explorers? And like if you dial down into Mbenga, because everybody's so upset that he's killed all these people and he's a doctor and he killed this man and he should be demoted. But in the larger scheme of things, their whole mission was full of, they had to make very difficult decisions, and they're on the side of people who, are retaliating perhaps against their oppressor, but now they've turned to killing and they want to use violence and they've killed hundreds of people. I mean, the things that we're angry at Mbenga about doing on an individual level, Starfleet does all the time, and nobody thinks twice about it. And somehow Mbenga's actions are dishonorable, but when it's Starfleet, capital S, it's okay. So I thought it interesting.
Means he'll have a lot of time on his hands to kill this.
Problematic gay alert.
Indeed. Can I also say, side note, sidebar, how pussy cunt Una looked this entire episode?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then at the end, when she's got the high ponytail and the suit and she's twirling around, I was like, bitch, pussy cunt work. So.
I also loved, we don't see this enough, her just at Pike's side, not actually at a console, but just being a first officer. I loved it. She looked incredible.
I like that she floats. I like how she's never at one station, that she moves around. Like sometimes she's at the con, sometimes she's at tactical, she's been at science. Like I like that she moves around because it makes her seem more like a badass where she's like, I can run this ship by my fucking self. I don't need any of you. So I like that she floats.
And one of my favorite scenes in this was the hidden camera that they didn't see in the ready room, where she was in there on the call with Pike to April, and he turns to her. Like, you got to see that captain first officer that we always got to see with Picard and Riker and all the other captains, less so Janeway and Chakotay, but like you actually got to see them discussing things and like, hey, Captain, you already know what I think. I don't even need to say it. Like, I'm here to support you. Tell me what you need. So that was one of, I think, the best scenes. I think she was a standout in this. And the hair looked great too.
There wasn't a lot of development of the character, but there was a lot of utilizing the character really well. My criticism before has been, we're told she's the best first officer, now show it. They're showing it this season, in this episode especially. I'm curious what you all thought about some of the other character moments that we got. We got a little bit about Spock. Spock runs away a lot as a child, it turns out. We know from the animated series at least one, from Discovery at least one, and now this, a third runaway. Really sad story of him trying to cut out his human half, which is not something you can do. The self-harm alliteration, it's not alliteration.
Allegory,
thank you. Why am I okay? But the themes and the allegory in this episode, like there were several that they kind of touched on. I know Krista brought it up earlier with a few from her perspective. What did y'all think about those kinds of character moments, whether it be Spock or for anyone else? Krista, I saw your hand. You're on mute. But do you, whatever you want.
I was just going to say for Spock, I think his story was important during that piece of the documentary, because the documentarian is coming in, stating this is a military operation. The military is bad. He's got this preconceived notion of, and he wants it validated. And here's Spock basically saying, yeah, my family and my culture were not Starfleet. They were not militarily influenced. It didn't have anything to do with that. And yet I was ostracized. I was treated differently. So you can find bad, dishonorable acts anywhere. It's not strictly military or battleship structures or things of that nature that are definitively bad. And I would actually add, during some of the other comments, I would say that Mbenga, he's sometimes in order to achieve an honorable end, you have to do some dishonorable things. that is the point of to the greater good. That's it.
Will?
I have a controversial opinion. This episode.
Oh, we don't do those here.
No, we don't do that here. I don't know if I don't know anyway, but I think Ethan Peck is the best actor to play Spock. I think he's getting all of the stuff that I think the kind of layered performance we got later from Nimoy and we never really got from Zachary Quinto. But I think because when he tells that story, you can tell that there's this deep pain he's discussing, but he's talking about it because it's like, this is the thing that made me come, like, this is what brought me here. This is the reason I'm here kind of thing. So I like, not only is he like beautiful to look at, like his performance is really, really good. And like, he's not in this a whole lot, but like the moments where he's like where he's getting in the neural interface thing, like all that stuff, and the way he the way he treats nurse, the way he's treating Chapel is like, I can't be that close to you. Like you can feel him push her away. Like they work together and they're super perfect. Like the things he's doing with his performance is really cool. Like it's really, really neat to watch. And like
his look at Uhura when Christine brings up her handshake, like, oh, I don't want to talk to Christine about these things.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to like there's like they've developed a relationship, like there's all these things. And then like the moment where Ma'an comes in and sits with Spock when they're meditating, like, or the moment he brings her he brings her a drink during the first meeting.
Briefing.
It's like, but the way he hands it to her, I was like, this is the shit that's really nice because you can see what you can get his intentions on what he's doing, but he's not showing any emotion. Like he's very specific. Like it's wonderful. Like the story was great, and I thought he really mined it for like a lot of those short stories to kind of like build a character with it, which I thought was really good. Like I thought he was great in the episode.
I do also need
really
to say that his workout attire looked great, but for
it's all
of the
so
angles they gave us in this episode, you couldn't give us the VPL. You know there is one. Give us the bulge. Give us the VPL.
Problematic gay alert.
They did get under his butt there on the bridge for a few shots.
Yeah,
they did get his butt, and that workout shirt was tight, Mama. Those spitties were sitting. Good for him. Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for everyone involved. Good for all of us.
Let's just take a moment to sit on that.
I mean, there are a lot of things we could sit on.
Yeah. You thirsty bitch.
In the arms of the angel.
Oh, yes.
The outfit was very nice, though. Yeah.
It's good.
It
Though,
was
what the
good.
fuck was Lon wearing when she came in? That Frederick
That
Hollywood.
That was not her friend.
What the fuck was
not
that?
her friend.
That
was
Ross
a Golden
dress for
Girls
less
muumuu.
fucking. It was
I liked
weird,
it.
man.
It was
Deborah
sultry.
Mumu. Or
was
Mrs.
like
Mrs. Hooper.
It was pants. It was flowy pants with like tuxedo tails. What the fuck was that? And half of it was silk, and the other half was late. It was weird. Mama,
Except for her Carmen Sandiego outfit, she doesn't wear clothes well. Like,
no,
yeah, style's not her friend.
whatever they're putting her in, someone help that woman.
I wish they wouldn't put so much eye makeup on her.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
That
that's
was
funny because
smudged
she used to not wear that much.
Like my
but
eyelids
now
are
since she's
heavy,
dating Spock,
so
she's
that's
putting a little more on. She's putting a little more on.
Yeah,
You know
like,
who's
you go real
who's-
heavy smoky eye. It's like
Yeah.
Jesus.
She's being a whore.
Is that your work look? Wow.
you
The
know
workplace
whose
diamond.
eye makeup was on point was Uhura.
Oh,
She
she
looks
was beat.
stunning. Whoa. Oh,
She's
Oh,
always
wait.
stunning though.
yes.
Like you'd have to actually deliberately add some prosthetics to make like
Yeah, even scratched up, she looks stunning.
Yeah,
she's
she looks
stunning.
great. Yeah.
woman.
Oh, thanks.
Beautiful voice.
Let me get her in.
Uhura.
Rotten.
What about Beto and Uhura? We've touched on it, but we haven't really deep dived those moments. They had They had a few touching moments at the beginning. They had what I thought was an odd scene in the middle. Both him bringing up her dead roommate out of fucking nowhere from his back pocket with no time to look it up. Like he came into that, was like, I'm gonna bring up this dead woman. Weird. And then a little bit of weirdness in the ready room. And then a really touching scene at the end. She was doing some emotional labor for him, which I don't love, but she did it beautifully. What are our thoughts about Uhura in this episode? Hero of the episode for sure. Matt's gesticulating.
I loved the way they handled how she confronted him. The way that she did that, and I believe that that's what you believe. Like, I think that that's what you believe. Like, called him out of like, you know what? I do believe that that's what it is, but you are such a small child. Like, I'm going to have to, like, it was the perfect little, just, she knew what to say, how to say it, when to say it, to make the biggest impact. It was incredible. I loved it. And she knew that she was pulling the emotional weight, and she was okay to do it because she realized like that's what needed to happen in that moment.
And that
So-
she was done. I mean, I think even though she got him through it to help him see, like, this was very fucked up what you have done this entire time, but I am going to tell you, like, this is fucked up. Let me tell you why. But you can really do that effectively when you have let go, when you have just said, you know what? I'm done. You're a piece of shit. So, and let me tell you why you're not shit. So I love that. She also had she also had my favorite moment of the night, which was when she was plugged into that chair talking to the Pokemon. I was just like, and she started to hum and
Mhm.
moan.
Beautiful.
It was so incredible, just for a number one, it was just very well done. But it's such a powerful moment, and I love this little theme of music that they're weaving for her. And just that, the power of it, it touched me deeply too. I think I've told the story before that, my mom had a stroke, and she didn't really read or write well, so she couldn't communicate that way. So they brought in a music therapist for her, and began to play, like hymns for her, and that was the moment that she began to respond. Music just touches us in such a deep part of our brain, our mind, our emotion. So just, I had a plethora of feelings in that moment, but I thought it was just such a beautiful, and important character moment, in that she was, kind of again standing on the theme of that, communication is important. Our values are what matters. It's kind of, she summed it up at the end. It's like Starfleet isn't Starfleet doesn't make people, people make Starfleet.
Yeah.
Because again, I also think it was kind of the point, but it's also the overall. I think Chris said at the top, that it was a thinly veiled kind of dig at the fandom, because it is. We're all about Starfleet should make you this, but no, the people make Starfleet. So
Mhm.
Starfleet looks like whatever it looks like based on who's in the chair or whatever. Um, so I thought it was just, yeah, great moment, great moment.
I like that she hears on a different frequency, which I think is so elementally important for a communications officer, that she recognizes elements in the environment that are completely bypassing everybody else, but she can identify them. And I thought it was beautiful that in the midst of, I agree with Joanne, in the midst of experiencing the pain of another creature, all she could do was hum and sing, as almost a self-care, but also an expression of what that pain, because she recognized that this thing was talking, but it was talking in notes. It was singing its pain. And I thought that was really pretty cool. Plus her.
I loved that it needed to be her, because we've seen this in Trek before, how like the Vulcan or the former Borg or the android is like the special entity that has to do something. And in this case, Spock's intunedness ended up being detrimental, and it was too much for him. I caught on my second watch an Esper reference, which dates all the way back to the second pilot that was then dropped, that humans have an ESP rating. Some humans have an ESP rating or an Esper scale and their telepathic abilities. So I thought that was a nice nod. But then that it needed to be Uhura to communicate with this creature. And I also loved I was saying this earlier, and I was reminded by some others, M'Benga does say at one point, there's nothing we can do. And then much later they get to the creature's request. And so I found myself wanting a reminder or somebody to say, like, are you sure we can't help? But it was still done beautifully. And I kind of loved that they didn't save the creature, and that they showed on Star Trek honoring this final wish of assisting this creature in ending its life or its current phase of existence to help ease its suffering, which I thought was a beautiful way of telling that kind of story.
Is that what Tin Man did?
He was
Did it kill itself, or
planning-
did it just get merged with what's his face, and they just went somewhere?
I
He
think
was
it was
going-
merged, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like merged. Yeah.
Tin Man was at that supernova to die, but then
But then he merged with the guy and said, "That's right." Okay.
Yeah.
I-
But then
I-
Beverly's patient, he evolved. But anyway.
Can I just add something about Uhura real quick to piggyback on Stan? They made it a point to show that she hears on a deeper frequency, but also she repeated on a couple of occasions that she felt it. And I think that empathic channel, again, is one of those things that allowed her to experience it, but not succumb to it in the way that Spock did.
I noticed that too,
Like
Krista.
the idea of the space jelly babies in TNG and in Picard, where we see sort of the birth and the possibility of life, and then at the end of this, we see the relinquishing of given purpose. I'm done. I want out. I don't want to hurt anybody anymore. I no longer want to hurt anymore. And
I care
again,
my kids.
something like that is also still a celebration of life. It is the choice to not hurt anymore, which to me is kind of a celebration of life in a kind of counterintuitive way. But
No, I think it. Were they suggesting then that Uhura has kind of a high Esper
yeah,
score
I think
too,
so.
or whatever value? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I thought
I
too.
think so.
Yeah.
Because she's drawn to that. She's drawn to that role. Whenever she talks about why, it's because of her love of sound, of frequencies, of music, and all of those things are very. You have to feel those.
You
things
have to feel
in order
them.
to
It's
be
yeah.
able to impart those things. Yeah. So I mean, who wants to see a singer that doesn't feel anything while they're singing? It's like this. It's the special amongst us that are musical. They have sirens. They have muses.
Unless you're a Morgan Wallen fan, in which case you do want that bland nonsense.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is.
I
That went right over
begrudgingly,
everyone's
I
head.
begrudgingly know who that is.
Yay.
What else have we? Anything about this episode that we haven't covered that anybody wants to bring up? Will?
There's with the Pikachu, there is, what is it called?
Jakaro.
Jakaro. Thank you.
Or Jakari?
Yeah.
Jakar. I think it's
Hikaru, I
Jakaro.
choose you.
Yeah, there
I
it
will
is.
find it.
It's-
Make your point.
It's Pikachu. It looked like Pikachu. Anyway, there's like a very there's like some layered metaphor happening where the creature was inherently peaceful and it was turned into a weapon. It was militarized and it didn't want to be that, so it inherently wanted to destroy itself. So there's this idea of that with Mbenga, who was militarized, who eventually left to come back a doctor. And then there's an overall idea about Starfleet being militarized and then not, and being inherently peaceful, that if it's militarized, it'll destroy itself. So there's like some layered metaphor happening, which I kind of liked. It again, I just wish it went a little bit further with it, but like it was interesting to see those kind of parallels. But like if it would nice if it was framed in the documentary like this, because that's a great storytelling thing that Beto and his shitty doc couldn't pick up on. So go back to school, buddy. But like there's some interesting layered metaphor that the show has been doing, which I have been really, really, really happy about, that it's doing more complex like metaphors on top of stuff, because sometimes it could be a little simplistic in older Star Trek. But now we're getting kind of layers of it, which is really nice.
It is nice. And I also think what some people are calling a criticism of this season, I think is very deliberate, and I think is being done well, in that, you know, there these different formats to tell the message, and folk are like, oh, it's kind of a gimmick. I don't think that it is. I think it is the point that they're making, right? Because again, it's like, it's not, we get so caught up in form, you know, what is Starfleet, but it's not the form, it's the value, it's the message. So it doesn't matter what shape it's in, our values drive it, right? Or should drive it. Is the point that they're constantly making. And I'm thinking, like, you know, if you don't get that, or you don't appreciate that, or more importantly, if you're offended by that, I would suggest you do some inner reflection, because I think you're part of the fucking problem. But yeah.
I would say that the experimentation in form is actually, I think, is what makes this series more distinct, at least this season, with them experimenting with the form. Because after, you know, what are we at, almost 1,000 episodes of Star Trek at this point? Is it something like that? Something crazy?
It's very close, yeah.
Yeah, so we're getting to the point. It created a form initially, and now we've repeated that form so much that it became stale. We beat the shit out of it. It just wasn't working. So we tried long form. It was successful in some regards, really wasn't in others. And now we've gone back to episodic. But instead of trying to keep it in that frame and just have the alien of the week come on, they're experimenting to the form of the episode to deliver the message. And I think that's given them kind of, it's made the message, I think, the performativity of this to be a little more broad, and it'll have a little bit more, what's the word I'm thinking of? It has a little more. No, it has a little more throw. So it feels a little bit like when you light a candle and it has you smell it throughout the house. Like it feels like the candle, it feels like the episodes have more throw. So it feels like it can encompass larger, broader ideas, because I don't think we've had a series that we've pulled episodes from and then that we feel like talk about the fandom as a whole. Like we feel like there's been commentary on the fandom. And I think it's because they've had these broad kind of layered metaphors that sit on top of these episodes that are very well written and well structured. But I think them loosening the form of each episode to experiment with the delivery of these messages, I think it gives the message a little bit broader reach, and it makes us able to like discuss this in a little more nuance. Because how does this reflect the fandom? Like, it feels like they're commenting on the fandom, which they maybe aren't necessarily like consciously doing as a writer or like as the people producing the show. So now we're getting these I think the form is really allowing for these episodes to kind of breathe a little bit and pull a little more oxygen to kind of make us think a little more broadly about the franchise as a whole and like the message they're putting forward.
It's what I love about Star Trek is you can glean from it so much from your perspective that any number of other people might not get. Some of it is like blatantly obvious. He's black on the right side.
Right.
That like in your face, and I enjoy that too. Sometimes it's just, as Joanne said earlier, it's a matter of perspective. I have been critical of this show overall in what I've said has been, you know, missing out on the promise of its premise. This season and experimenting with the format to tell each individual story is the furthest from my mind in what I'm saying, what I mean when I do have that criticism, because I love the way that they're doing it. I love, like, I think we talked about this with the holodeck episode. I thought that they missed an opportunity to talk about AI and agency around your likeness and that kind of thing. But the way that they told that story using a holodeck test to tell the story that they did in that episode was brilliant. And I think it led to a lot of discussion. And this episode, like we've talked about it, like it's a bad documentary, but the documentary format is a really interesting way of telling this story. And I think the experimentation side of things, Strange New Worlds is hitting it out of the park. I love when Star Trek tries new things. Benji,
Their
you came up
experimentations have been successful. They've been more successful than failed, for sure.
Yes.
Sorry, Benji, go ahead.
I just wanted to acknowledge like the absolutely gorgeous sound design in this episode, because like from beginning to end, I was like feeling all of this like wonderful soundscape that they produced, like it deep in my sternum. Not like the alien, absolutely, but like everything else throughout the episode. I think they did a really good job, like we were saying about like Uhura having like this empathetic and musical connection with the creature. I think they convey that to the audience very well, and I hope this is like an Emmy entry for them for sound design.
Speaking of sound design, I fully agree. And also, did anybody else catch a little bit of whale probe in there? Like
you made this point earlier. Say it for the group.
It like there was something about in the background when she was trying to figure out how to connect to it and like translate and everything. It sounded like you had that like that of the whale probe. We all know. All of us probably know. Like it seemed like they were going to make a connection there because it can like do electromagnetic fields, and the whale probe could like deactivate everything electromagnetically. And so I was hoping there might be a little like through line there or something, or her like, maybe I need to try and see what it sounds like underwater because it came from underwater and went into space. And so it would have been interesting to have that, but
maybe the whale probe aliens also communicate with the Starlight. Well, friends, I think we are coming to the end of our episode today, so you know what time it is. Will, what time is it? What should we be doing right now?
We should be landing the ship. Yeah.
Excellent. Will you do that?
I was put in charge of doing the points today. I wasn't paying attention, so I just wrote the word penis.
Problematic gay alert.
And also, I gave myself infinity points. So
that makes me so happy.
I think Trevor will approve.
Yes, infinity penis.
I wrote infinity penis.
Can't wait to find out if Trev is going to fit that into his spreadsheet.
Oh. I think Trev could fit a penis in anywhere.
I think Trevor's known for fitting a lot into his spreadsheet.
Oh.
No, Christus.
Problematic gay alert. You thirsty bitch.
In the arms.
All at once.
Scandalize.
All of the things. Delightful as always to discuss Star Trek with my good friends here in the Salon. Our thanks to everybody in the chat. Please do like, subscribe, share, comment on our videos. A comment is a really great way to help support the Salon because it helps throw that algorithm into our direction. So please like and subscribe. We are at Salon Trek everywhere, all of the places. We will be back next week to discuss the 8th episode of the 3rd season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And until then, please do live long and prosper. Good night, everybody.
All hands abandon ship. Proceed to the nearest evacuation